browsers and the browser elements, but with the help of the DOM API, we can refer to any kind of element on a HTML page and work with it using the DOM API. So if you look at the
sorry, your screen is not visible, I guess.
Not visible.
Yep.
Just a second. I thought it was. What about now?
Yes, it is now.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thanks. And if we, for example, DOM tree, if we search for DOM tree, for example, on the web, you can see that here you can see that it looks like a tree. The first element, it's not here. It is. You can see that here is the first thing we should mention is the document. Document is a whole our HTML document, and the next thing is gonna be HTML element, and then another child elements. For example, head, title, and its text is my title. And the next thing, for example, body has a anchor element, and it contains a text my link. So, for example, if we refer, this is a document, and we have some kind of button somewhere. We should go from the document element to the bottom till this button element. What we have? We firstly have a HTML node, then it contains a body element. Body element also should be B, and the body element, for example, can have a div element, and the div element can contain a button, and also button has for example, some kind of span inside itself, and the span have some text here. So, and the next thing we should mention here is that if you open the web docs in Mozilla Developer Network, it says that the HTML represents a web page in memory. In order to use the regular JavaScript with the HTML, you need to have document object model. So the first thing we should see here, it's by opening elements in our console. So as you can see, all of the elements are shown, and for example, in our body element there is nothing, but we will add the add element, and then we will choose the element and, for example, change the color background color of the body. What we should do now, with the help of the DOM API here, we can make it work. So I think all of you know how to use JavaScript and how to declare a variable in JavaScript according to your schedule. And for example, if you refer to console log firstly to document itself, it's a keyword document. It comes from the DOM API, and you can see what it has. We will open the console and see what it has. As you can see, in document, we have all the elements from our HTML structure. all the head and the body elements here. So the next thing is the document also can have some kind of properties. What kind of properties can document have? Document, for example, style. Oh my God. Document body. It have body, as you can see, and the body can have, if I'm not mistaken, some kind of style. For example, we can change the background color of this body from the JavaScript. We can make it red if it's everything is correct. It changes the color of the body element to red. So in this kind of order, you can change the elements in document, but you cannot take all of the body elements from directly to document body like this. In some situation, you should have a special as in cascading style sheets, say as in CSS. We can take the elements from the HTML structure to the JavaScript with the help of the selectors. So, for example, we can have some kind of div. Inside div, we can have for example, another div. Also, in here, we can have a button. In order to, find this element, we cannot directly refer from the document body, style, background, color, document body, and the div. It's not possible. And the next thing we should use here is the, for example, ID. Main button. We can give it ID main button and some kind of cutting. Click me. Here it is, and there's a special kind of methods to find the DOM elements in JavaScript, like we will consider in our lesson the elements like get element by ID, get element by class names, get element, for example, by tag name, and my favorite new one is the query selector. So we should start from the get element by ID. So in order to take this button from our HTML structure, we should use this get element by ID method. So what we should do now, let, for example, click btn. We can find our DOM element using the get element by ID. What was our ID? Main button. So if we give it to the console, click button, we can see our button and it's found, and we can use some kind of events with the help of this button, or we can change the style of this button. How? Like in an example above, click button. We are referring to this variable, click button, style, and also, for example, border 2 pixels, solid green. If you can see that our button have a border 2 pixels and with a color of green. So we will go a little bit to tomorrow's lesson using the events. For example, we can add some kind of event to this click button. Here's a special method called add event listener. We can add some kind of event, for example, click. If you go from the direct translation of the event is some kind of action where something happens. For example, we are adding some kind of click element. If we click to this button, something should happen. Add event listener takes in our situation two arguments. First is the name of the event. It's also keyword. You cannot create your events here for now. And the next thing is the callback function. Callback function. And when the click button is clicked, our background color of our body element should change to, for example, red. If you go here, there's nothing. But if you click to this button, our body element changes. By this you can change. For example, here is another event called double click. We can give it another color, green, in order to be sure. So if you click one time, it's red. If you click one more, it doesn't change. If you click two times straightly, it changes to green. So by this way, you can find the element using the get element by ID, and then add some kind of events and change the style of this element, or remove its child, or add some kind of child to this element. The next we will see the adding and removing the childs later in this lesson. And for now, we can copy and paste our buttons. For example, we can have 5 buttons. So, oh my god. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here, as you can see, there is only one. There can be only one element with the same ID, and the another elements cannot have the same ID. It's from the syntax side and from the logical side, it's not the good option. Then, as in the CSS, we can add some classes. For example, click buttons. Oh my god. Click buttons. We can add all classes to all our button elements here. And if you go here and take click button, we can delete this one and let click buttons. In this case, if we have the selector, if we want to select all the similar elements by its class name, we cannot use this get element by ID because from its name we can understand that it takes only one element by its ID. And the next thing that we should use here is the get elements by class name. So document get elements by class name. What was our class name? class, we had a class name click buttons here, and we can also show it on the console. Click buttons. So from the in the first point, we have a document. The next thing is the single button element here, and all of it's a single element. And if you look at this last line, it's a HTML collection, because we have an array of some kind of buttons in our DOM, and you cannot, for example, use directly these click buttons in order to change its style like it was before. You'll understand what I have mentioned here from the example. Click buttons style, and border 1 pixel solid red. As you can see, cannot set property border of undefined, because it's not the only one element which has a style property inside, but it's a HTML collection in the array. So I click button. So here it is. There is no problem, but there is a problem with the get elements by class name. What we should do in order to get all of the elements and give them a style or the event from the JavaScript. The next thing is to take all of the click buttons, and using the for each, we can change its styles or add some kind of events. So click buttons, if you know, for each works with the, how to say, array items, btn, for example. We call the single button in the click buttons HTML collection, and the buttons. Oh, yeah, okay, it's an arrow function. I think you know, all of you know what's that. And if we log this button into the console, we should delete this, because, as you know, JavaScript uses the top-down approach, and if the code doesn't work on the 15th line, another code, all of the code, how to say, down here will not work. We should delete it. Or we can make a comment. I have click buttons for each is not a function. That's interesting. Oh my god. Click buttons, document, get elements by class name. So there was a problem, I think. For each takes the callback function, which can have a console log item. Okay, let me check another thing. So we will not stop here, and then as you can see, we could take all of the elements by class name. And another thing we should mention here is the query selector. With the help of the query selector, you can take element by its tag name, class name, and ID with the help of the only one method. Here, you didn't write some kind of dash like in CSS, and here you didn't write some kind of dot like in CSS. But in the query selector, I will make all of them come to the comment. And the let click buttons, document, query selector, and the next thing is the click buttons. Also, we should look into this on the console. Click, but not the buttons. Okay. Query selector. So if you can see, there is only one element on the console because there's a query selector. If you give it element with the class name, it can take only one. The first child, or how to say, it have faced on the our HTML structure, but you can work straightly from these click buttons like it was before. Click buttons, it works, and in order to get a lot of all of the elements on our HTML structure, you can use another method that we should add here: query selector all. In this case, there will be problem because click buttons will be a collection of the HTML elements. As you can see, here's the node list, like in get elements by class name. I think in this example, for each will work, if I'm not mistaken. Here it is. If you, make a dot, Visual Studio Code itself shows you for each. So for each, the next thing, we should name the single element here, and we can give the color to each button. Style border 1 pixel solid red. Let me check. So all of the elements now have the same style from the all of the elements have the same style from the JavaScript. And the next thing, for example, if you click to the elements, it can show some kind of content. For example, we can add this element special event click. If you click to this element, all of them will show some kind of information. Click me 1, click me 2, click me 3, click me 4, and click me 5. So we will add the click event to all of these elements. Button, add event listener, click, and the callback function. You can write it by arrow function also. And the next thing is if we click to this element, we can show its content. For example, click me 1 on the console log btn. We will show the clicked button on the console 1. You can see that it has the one click me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Also on a btn there is a thing, if I'm not mistaken, it's a text content. Click me 1, click me 2, click me 3, 4, 5. Also, like this, you can use alert and so on. Next thing, for example, we can refer to the data attributes of these buttons with the help of some custom data attribute here. Data btn number. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We will change its numbers here. All of them have unique numbers now, and we will delete this text content, but we should have a special property called, if I'm not mistaken, dataset btn number 1. We can refer to this btn number. It's written as if you know, it's called the case. We are writing attributes here. It's called the shashlik case, kebab case in some language, kebab case. But when we are referring from the JavaScript, we can take it by, how to say, in camel case, btn number. If I'm not mistaken, in the first or the second lesson, when we are talking about the HTML and the CSS, we have talked about the usage of the data attributes. As you know, it's a, how to say, custom attributes that we are creating on the HTML element. So btn dataset btn number. If you click, now you can see the content from the our data attributes. And also, for example, you can add another data and refer to it without any kind of problem. So the next thing here, we can add some kind of elements to these our click buttons. How? For example, if we look into the console, here's the div, and all of them have buttons. We can add some kind of icon to our button elements with the help of the create element. So how it's done? From the flaticon.com, we can take any kind of, for example, plus button. We can, without any kind of problem, we can download it as SVG. And the next thing here, we will import this SVG file here. Not the SVG, but PNG file. And also create some kind of element and refer to it. We can add image element to our buttons. If I'm not mistaken, image. So here's the special element. Let btn image. Let me go to up. Btn image document create element. It's a special, how to say, method of the document. It only has a DOM API, and the first argument here you should write is a create element. We should create some kind of image tag. It's written like this, and you can see btn image on the console. If we should delete all of the consoles in order to not make mistakes. So image. 5 image elements are created on our document object model. And the next thing we should add, next thing that we should do here is to add all of this button images to corresponding button on our HTML collection. So how it's done? There is another thing. We can, with the help of the special note method called append child. It's by its name, it's saying that we can add the child to our button, append child. What kind of child we will add? Our child is gonna be btn image. So here you can see that our button, except our text, also here is created the image tag. Image, all of them now have image tags, and if you make them to the comment, there is no image tag. It's only all of them are created by JavaScript. And the next thing, for example, we can add this image, some kind of attribute, and show source link to our plus PNG image. So btn image if I'm not mistaken, not get set attribute. Set attribute. The first thing is gonna be the name of the attribute, and the next thing is gonna be value of the attribute. Set attribute source and plus dot png. If I'm not mistaken, of course. Oh my god. As you can see, all of our buttons now have the image text and the source that is created from the JavaScript, and you can see there is no any kind of problem. With the help of the create element, we have created element. With the help of the set attribute, we are giving some kind of attribute to our created element. And the next thing here, one more time, I will repeat, by the with the help of the append child, we are giving some kind of element, a child, on the argument of this method. So if everything is fine, we should come back to the get not the get element. Get elements by class name. I think we should Google here get elements by class name for each. Iterating our result of get elements by class name. Oh my god, I think there is some kind of problem with get elements by class name. The best way to get the elements from the DOM is the query selector. Believe me, because I didn't use get element by class name or ID. There is a problem by showing you the example, and I've made a mistake that with the for each. So, and the next thing we should mention here, as now we know what's the document object model, and the document object model is like a tree, and all of them have document object model have corresponding document and body and the node elements, and then on the modular developer network, you can Google DOM node, all of the elements on our HTML structure called nodes, button, div, or any kind of thing. and you can see what kind of methods and properties it will have. For example, last child, next sibling, node name. By the help of this, you can find and how to say, use elements on our from our document object model. We have now use text content. You can find nearest element to your some kind of node on the DOM. We have used append child. Also, you can from the JavaScript clone the node, and so on. Also, we should mention here the special method remove child, and for example, we can create some kind of button that will remove all of the, not all of the, but the first element on our list of buttons. I will add the ID here, main btn2, and the next thing, just a second, guys. So we can continue. ID main btn2. Let main btn2 document query selector. Here you can write with a dash main btn2 add event listener. If we click this one, all of the elements should not all of the elements, but the first main button should be gone. So click console log. We will check this if it works. Clicks. It works. Let me remove this set attribute because all of our buttons were bigger. Click. And the next thing we should remove this main button. Document remove child. If I'm not mistaken, we can delete click button like this. Click button. When you click on the main button 2, the main button 1, first one here, should be gone. So let me check. Everything works fine, but there is a problem, I think, because I have directly referred to the document. I think I should write some kind of ID here, button holder document. Also, without using and declaring variable, you can directly use and find elements from the JavaScript directly. I mean query selector and the button holder remove child click button. So clicks. As you can see, the first button is gone because it's a direct child of the button holder, and it works properly. So also with the help of this one, you can clone this child, clone node. Oh my god. It works by another thing. I think it's not necessary now, but it works fine when removing child. So remove, replace. Also that we should the next thing that we should mention here is the, I think, last child and the first child. So when we, for example, if we click on the main button 2, we can find the first and the last. Oh no. Let button holder. We will remove child method and take it to the global scope. Button holder, first child, console log, and the ouch. How to duplicate that? Okay, first child and the last child. If we click to the second button, as you can see, we can the button is found. First child and last child. Or I have made a mistake. No, it was okay to use this. Click me. You can see all of the methods and the information of the first our element. You can find the methods and the properties, and also you can see what's the how to say sibling next sibling element, and the parent element. Parent element in our case is a button holder, and so on. So also you can see the last element here. So everything is fine, I think. I think we have covered enough things for today, because this lesson was not so big. So if you have our lesson is over, guys. If you have any kind of questions, please ask. Free feel to ask any kind of questions. I'm here.
Thank you.
No questions, I think. There was a question. Is it possible to use destructing to get any or all attributes of element? Oh, you can get attributes of the element with the help of the as you can see here, we have used the special method called the set attribute. There's a special property, if I'm not mistaken, console log Oh, there is a problem with the internet. So get attribute, if I'm not mistaken. Mobile data. Oh my god. Get attribute. It was a method. Why it's not working, I don't know. Failed to execute get attribute on element. One argument required, but only 0 present. Get attribute class, for example. Oh, with the help of the get attribute and its corresponding argument class, we have found the value of class attribute. For example, also with the help of this, you can find ID. First two elements have its ID, but another things do not have. So therefore, you can see the value of null here. And get attributes, if I'm not mistaken, there is also get attributes. So no, there was another property, attributes. So if you can see, there is a the list of the attributes like ID, class, data button number, and the style. So with the help of this DOM properties like get attribute or the attributes property, you can take and find any kind of attributes. So any questions also? So guys, if you don't have any kind of questions, please try using this methods and all the selector methods from our lesson, and feel free to experiment on your playground and on your machine. So thank you to paying attention. Goodbye. I think Rati, you can stop the